All right, Shalom, Shalom, Barakatah Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to our apostles, elder bishops here at Great Millstone. Shalom to you, brothers. That's pushing the work in truth with all sincerity. Name of this lesson is Don't Be Surprised When Things Get Violent. All right, don't be surprised when things get violent. Term we're covering today is called gerrymandering. Okay, it's pretty much dealing with politics, and we're gonna dig and draw out some information. Lord willing, this is edifying. Okay, because they're saying this is Jim Crow 2.0. And so in other words, what does it mean for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans? Okay, what does this mean for you? All right, and the answer is Jacob's trouble. Your trouble. Okay, and we constantly been warning you about this. All right, a lot of you, you put all your faith into the American political system, which is going to fail you. All right. And right now it's been, your rights are being gutted out. It's about to be a hostile takeover. All right. And politically, people are going to be fighting each other over political beliefs. Jake is being, of course, as usual, being cut off, and we're going to go into it because it's pretty much going to explain itself. So Lord willing, this is edifying. I got a few videos, and Lord willing, I have a few precepts, and hopefully this is edifying because I mean this is serious. We we told it with all the it's a lot of things going on, man. Um, man, get out while you can. That's all I can say, man. The scriptures tell us to forsake this place. All right, forsake it, and that's by not being part of it. Is the best way I can explain it. You know, and yeah, get your house in order, as the scriptures say, because things are is about to we're about to see things change, you know, for the worse. But you got a lot of protests, for many different reasons. Data centers going up, people are pissed off, people are mad, you know, and at some point there's gonna be a breaking point for these people, and man, you don't want to be in the way. And then there's gonna be crackdowns which ensue, authorities cracking down on the people for protesting, and it's going to be a hostile takeover, and there's going to be bloodshed. And we've been warning you about this. We've been telling you about this, and especially your average day African Americans, Latin Americans, you Native Americans, whatever you want to call yourself. Especially if you're in the politics, you're gonna be hurt. All right, you're about to be hurt about because of what's about to ensue. So, without further ado, gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is the manipulation of electoral district boundaries to give one political party, racial group, or interest group an unfair advantage in elections. How it works: officials redraw voting maps to concentrate certain voters into a few districts to reduce their broader influence. See? So it's limiting the representation of especially you so-called Negroes, all right, and low income neighborhoods, okay, because the mantra has been for the longest MAGA, they want to take back their country, all right, and that's what they're doing, okay, and there's really nobody that's gonna stop them, you gotta just let this happen, you know. I was gonna quote Bing Rames, but anyway, crack. It's to split communities across many districts to dilute their voting power. All right, and that's happening. If you thought you didn't have no say so, if you thought you had no representation already, right? So Salaki, I had to pause it, but if you thought you didn't have no representation and voting rights and power already, Well, wait, you know, wait until you see what's about to happen in the next, coming months leading up to this midterm. Okay, because they got more to give you with all that they've been doing already. With troops in the street. The firing of who people who they can see consider DEI. All right. Yeah. You know, and one thing too is that um, while this is all being done, them taking over the political aspect, and your voting and all of that type of stuff, they're uh, they're building data centers. Okay, they're building a whole digital control grid. Okay, whereas they're gonna be surveilling. All right, people on a level that we've never seen before. Okay, um, and soon enough, you know, it's gonna be like it's gonna be a very hostile state. You know, people being it's like that movie 1984 is the best way I can explain it. Economic restrictions, people getting arrested for the smallest crimes, and people getting arrested for no crime at all. You know, um, yeah, yeah, it's gonna get bad. And Salaki, I can't explain exactly but let's continue, Salaki. So this is common goals. It says protect incumbents, strengthen party control, weaken minority voting power, influence legislation and representation. Okay, and why? Because that whole thing, the Stein files came out. All right, and their approval rating is going down. And obviously people are pissed at the current uh, president. All right, but he's not gonna you know he's not gonna give up his authority. In fact, he's gonna gain more authority. All right. So real world effects. Communities may lose political influence. Election outcomes can become less reflective of actual population preferences. Right. So you might not have somebody to be that's going to vote or represent you and your needs for your community. All right, that's how it works. It says certain groups may struggle to gain fair representation, public trust, and democratic systems can decline. Yep. And a lot of, you know, what's going to persist is a lot of aid being taken away, you know, especially a lot of government help. All right, like food stamps, all these government programs in which, lower class citizens, use to get by. So it's going to make it hard out here. It's going to get really hard out here, right? In the US, gerrymandering has often been used against black voters, Latino communities, urban populations, political opposition. All right, legal status. Gerrymandering can be challenged under the Voting Rights Act, which they're gutting now. All right. So they're making it hard for you to fight against what's coming. And there's a reason why, because they're the ones that's bringing the control grid, you know. They're the ones that's going to bring in the reset, okay? They're the ones that's going to bring in the generated crises and then, give the solution, which is, martial law, all right? And the detaining of and of their own citizens, all right? Internment camps for those who resist or dissent, all right? However, court rulings vary. Racial gerrymandering is more clearly challengeable. All right, partisan gerrymandering is harder to contest federally. Biblical or moral lens. From a justice perspective, gerrymandering can resemble unequal weights and measures. That's a good one. corrupt judgment, manipulation of governance for self-interest. Yep, and it gave me Proverbs 11 and 1. Uh, Gerrymandering is often seen as shaping the voters instead of letting voters shape leadership. Yeah, exactly. They won't. They're not going to allow for the citizens to have control over uh, who they put in authority. All right. It can significantly affect representation policy and social equity. Is this equitable? I mean, no. Is this ethical? Slocky. That's what I asked. Generally, gerrymandering is widely considered unethical when it is used to distort fair representation for political gain. Ethical concerns manipulates democratic processes, dilutes community voices, prioritizes power over fairness, can disproportionately harm minority populations, reduces accountability of elected officials. Right. So, yeah. And what does that mean for you tribes? Jacob's trouble. Okay. The same thing that you said wasn't coming, the same thing that you said was gay. Well, it's manifesting right in front of you. If you're paying attention, you can see, it coming. But they calling this what Jim Crow 2.0, and yeah, and from this is just the beginning stage of what uh, riots, okay, political turmoil, which the precept is gonna cover that. So I'm gonna play a few of these videos. All right, let's see what we get from it.
In the wake of the Supreme Court's effective destruction of the Voting Rights Act, we are seeing southern states all across the South redraw their voting maps. This could lead to the largest drop in black representation since the Jim Crow era, and it is happening with alarming speed, beginning today in Tennessee, where they are set to pass a 9-0 map that splits the city of Memphis, which is 63% black, into 3 different congressional districts to dilute black voting power. Memphis has had its own congressional district since 1923, and it's now going to be split apart in 3 different districts. Nashville is going to be split into 5 different districts, and this is very symbolic. This was the place where Martin Luther King was assassinated. This is where he led the Poor People's Campaign, and it's indicative of what's happening across the country, which is the ink is barely dry on the destruction of the Voting Rights Act. And all across the South, from Tennessee to Alabama to Louisiana to Mississippi, they are drawing districts to specifically eliminate seats where voters of color can elect their candidates of choice. So this is a really fire for American democracy.
Yeah, I mean, American politics is no place for you so-called Negroes. All right. I mean, the voting process and all of that stuff. This is not our rest. America is not our rest, and the scriptures, explain that, very candidly. All right. So let's see here. Micah 2:10. All right. Okay, and you got our people who trust in this place in the system, and all it's going to do is fail you. That's all it has ever done. And the best you can do is just work and survive, and really put your trust, all right, in the Lord, all right. 'Cause that's what we've been telling Jake, that's what we've been telling you tribes. Start trusting in the Lord, okay, because that's the only way out of this. All right, and a lot of people they want to call it spookism or whatever. Well, we'll see, you know, we'll see what you hoping in this system is going to get you. So arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with the sword of destruction. Micah 2:10. Salakia. All right. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with the sword of destruction. And that's all that this place has for you. All right. Destruction. All right. All right. Why? Because they don't care for your needs. All right. And they never cared, because every solution that they gave you is only ended up doing more harm to you. welfare that only done more harm to us. Okay, and really, you know, um, it was just no, it was never for us to make it. You know, this America is a punishment to us. Okay, and that punishment is almost up. All right, and the scriptures say, you know, woe to them that that trust in. Hey, let me see. The scriptures say that we're not even supposed to have leaders from other nations, you know, ruling over us. We're supposed to rule over ourselves, you know, meaning that we are supposed to govern ourselves, and the Lord is supposed to be, our, He's essentially our governor, our, our leader, our God, our King, you know. So let's see. Let's see here. This is Sirach 17 and 17. It says, then Abraham. Oh, no, that's Genesis. So again, I am looking for. Okay, Sirach 17 and 17. I don't know why it's giving me Genesis 17 and 17. I clearly just clicked on. But anyway, let's just read it from here. This is Sirach 17 and 17. For in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people. But Israel is the Lord's portion. So you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, we belong to the Lord. We don't belong to any political party, political system. All right. And these systems are only set up to exploit you. Okay. To exploit your labor. Okay. And they built their wealth off the backs of slavery, you know. And what have they given you in return? Nothing, because every solution that they've given us, uh, it ended up harming us and putting us in a worse position than we started off in. Okay. And that's evident. That's clearly evident, you know, from welfare to, them giving us entertainment to all of these different, Planned Parenthood, all of these different institutions that they, recommend for us and give us. It's only destroying us and only have been destroying us. That's why we're supposed to lean on our power. All right. But here, you know what? Let's see here. Whom being his firstborn, he nourisheth with discipline. All right. And giving him the light of his love does not forsake him. Okay. And the scriptures clearly go into how we're not supposed to allow anyone from another nation to rule over us. I believe it might be Deuteronomy. All right. Deuteronomy 17. See here. 17 and 15, it says, Thou shalt in any wise set him. Oh, let's go up a verse. Deuteronomy 17:14. When thou art come into the land which the Lord Yahweh thy God giveth thee, and shalt possess it, and shalt dwell therein, and shalt say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Verse 15, it says, Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother, right? So, yeah, we're supposed to have, you know, we're supposed to have our brothers, ruling over us or set over us to represent us. Okay. No other nation is supposed to be ruling over us because they're not going to have our best interests at heart. Okay. And all we've been going through is exploits, or, the nations, all they have done is exploited us. Okay. Let me see. I want to get Sirach again. 13. Let's see here if it allows me. Nope. me jump it through hoops right now. All right, so Sirach chapter 13. All right, and 15 it says, "For all the land." I don't know why it's keep doing that though. I'm clearly in Ecclesiasticus, but it keeps jumping me to Genesis. But whatever. Um, yeah. So this is Sirach 13 and 15. It says, "Every beast loveth his like, and every man loveth his neighbor, meaning his brother. All flesh consorteth according to kind." All right, and a man will cleave to his like. Right, your own nation, your own people. Okay. What fellowship hath the wolf with the lamb? So the sinner with the godly. What agreement is there between the hyena and the dog? And what peace between the rich and the poor? Right, there ain't no peace. Okay, you're always going to have the poor, I mean, the rich exploiting the poor, looking down upon the poor, right? And trying to, benefit themselves off their labor or whatever the case may be. Okay, so we're not supposed to, they don't have, there ain't no agreement. Okay, because they don't have none of our interests, our best interests at heart. All right, so we're supposed to rule over ourselves. But now that I got that out the way, I kind of want to segment into how, I mean, ultimately what this is leading to for the whole country. Okay, and the type of environment that it's going to bring. And the scriptures clearly point that out. All right, this is Second Ezra 15 and 15. This is the GNT. It says, "The war that will bring their destruction is very near." All right, well, you know what? I start up at 14. Okay, because this is a warning to the world on what's going to happen in the end. So, Second Ezra 15 and 14, "The world and the people, all right, in it are doomed. The war that will bring their destruction is very near. Nations will alarm themselves and fight against other nations." All right, and we're seeing that. Okay, we're seeing that on the international scale, and people are going to fight against people on a smaller scale domestically. All right, what they call that civil unrest, and it's definitely going to get violent, and to no surprise. Okay, it says there will be great. It says there will be great political turmoil, which one group trying to overpower another and gain control while ignoring the legitimate government. Right, and so that's what's happening. They're rolling back laws. All right, and it's a hostile takeover. It's a takeover, literally. Okay. It says there will no longer be free access to the cities because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live. Right? It's gonna be exactly what it says. All right. The struggle for power is gonna bring destruction, and people are gonna fight, you know, for power because this is access to resources. All right. Okay, and it's gonna get ugly, man. All right. So it says, driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possessions. Okay, and it's going to be every man for themselves, and essentially the government is going to abandon these people. You know, all right, and that's slated for the future, man, in the very near future. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see if we can get another video.
This is how voter suppression works. You undermine the strength of ordinary voters a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, and that's how you move the outcome of elections. Donald Trump is desperate, and the Trump court just made it easier for him to hold on to power no matter what. Here's how we've got to respond. We've got to show up. And
Right. So he's holding on to power, and he's putting himself in position to keep that power and authority. All right, so they're carving up the states, okay, taking, and it's all strategic, you know, as you can see, and that's pretty much it, man. Gerrymandering. You got Jake pretty much. He's on his civil rights, thing. Um, and you don't be surprised, man, if they start, you know, doing stuff to Jake, man, in these protests.
These maps are racist tools of white supremacy at the behest of the most powerful white supremacist in the United States of America, Donald J. Trump. What you are doing today is eviscerating the only black majority congressional district in our state because we are majority black. We are here because this Republican Party has to seek to steal elections and seats because the president and the party have refused to address the pain, the suffering, and the struggling of everyday Tennesseans. This is about attacking, targeting, and cracking District 9 into pieces for more political and racial dominance and white supremacy in the state of Tennessee. And we need to realize that the Calais decision that you all are basing your decisions off of, that gutted the Voting Rights Act, that Voting Rights Act was paid in blood. It was not just a parchment of paper signed into law. It was paid in blood on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Paid in blood by Medgar Evers, paid in blood by Fannie Lou Hamer. It's been paid in blood year over year, time after time, assassination after assassination, lynching after lynching, so that more people might be able to ascertain access to this constitutional democratic republic experiment that is
failing you.
currently being gutted and
Yeah, because you put your trust in the devil and you put your trust in the devil's process. So what do you think is going to bring more of after they start suppressing your, voting rights and take your representation away? You're going to essentially be in the dark, you know? You're going to be essentially ran over. And that's what these so-called white people do. You know, they want their country, as they say, and they're gonna fight for it, and they're gonna make everybody else's life hell. So this is definitely lining you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans up for something a lot more nefarious and diabolical. Okay, not to mention you got all these, all the other stuff that's happening, that data centers, which is pretty much eating up the resources in the environment. You know, uh, yeah, man. So when they come through with whatever they want to do, drones, surveillance, and all of that, what do you think they're gonna be doing it to the that average so-called Negro? You know, they're gonna just lump you all in one box, and you're just gonna be considered human chattel. Okay, so I mean, that was pretty much it. Gerrymandering, and you can look more into it. Just but for sure, don't be surprised when things get violent because, yeah, I mean that's what's slated. That's what's coming. You know. Um, Here, I can get this one if this thing allows me, because it's been acting up. I don't know why. Second is 4 and 28, and it reads. It says, but as concerning the things which whereof thou askest me, I will tell thee, for the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet come. If therefore that which is sown be not turned upside down, which is what? This society, all right, America, all right. And if the place where the evil is sown pass not away, then cannot it come that is sown with good. And we're looking for the kingdom of heaven. All right, we're looking for, new heavens and a new earth. All right, not this played out, unfair, unequitable, unethical, place that you call America, which is always is it's a dressed up, you know, on the outside it look good, but on the inside it's corrupt, it's corroded, it's it's sinister on the inside, you know. And you Jakes have always had to foot the bill, so and that's why we constantly, you know, warn you to depart from this place, you know, and get your house in order because man, it's about to get ugly, especially for you Jakes, because you holding on to a broken society, a society that absolutely cannot be healed. Okay. Let me see. All right. This is going into the world. You know, the end of the world. Basically, it's just giving you the time. Basically, the length on how long this world's been run. I mean, been going. And let's see here. Verse 10. Let's see. I don't know why I keep doing that. Goodness gracious, bro. All right, I'll just read from here. This is 2nd Ezra 14 and 10. For the world hath lost his youth, and the times begin to wax old. All right, for the world is divided in 12 parts, 12,000 years. It says, in the 10 parts, all right, of it are gone already. All right, and half of a tenth, all right, part. Okay, and there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th part. Okay, I'm not going to get into the numbers right now, but the point is down here. It says, now therefore set thine house in order, okay, and reprove thy people, because basically it's just pointing that this world is waxing old. It's coming to the point where it's transitioning into a whole to an age where it's going to be completely transformed. All right, it's going to be completely terraformed and transformed. All right, it's going to be new heavens and a new earth, as the scriptures say. It says, and reprove thy people, meaning correct thy people. Comfort such as of them as be in trouble and now renounce corruption. Why? Because righteousness is about to be uh, the new authority. Okay, and it's going to wipe out everything that offends. Let go from thee mortal thoughts, cast away the burdens of man, put off now the weak nature, and set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee, and haste thee to flee from these times. For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. Okay. For look how much the world shall be weaker through age, so much the more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein. So what? You're supposed to be looking for the kingdom. You're supposed to be calling on Yahweh Bahasham Yahushua, because he's already told you he's coming. And he's told you through his prophets, his men. And whether you want to believe it or not, that's what's about to happen. And what we've been telling you is about to happen. So we're not trying to hear this crap. All right. This place cannot be healed, as it goes, Jeremiah 51 goes into, you know, Babylon cannot be healed. All right. And that's why we are promptly told to flee from this place. Okay. Jeremiah 51:6, flee out of the midst of Babylon. And that's dealing with the daughter of Babylon, which is Esau, Edom, and that's America. And deliver every man his soul, be not cut off in her iniquity. Right, because this place is about to be cut off because of all the evil that it has produced. Right, it says, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. He's going to pay America back. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. Right, it's been the lady of kingdoms. It's been at its royal height. That's over. Right, that made all the earth drunken. Right, the nations have drunken of her wine, which is democracy. Right, which is the notion of freedoms. Therefore, the nations are mad. Why? Because all it has done is destroyed those nations. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain. If so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Right, forsake her, because it's only going to get worse. You got these Edomites fighting over control again, and they're not willing to share this world with you. All right, that they be damned if they share the world with you, because they feel like they're losing out if you're equal to them. You know, white supremacy is all about them being over you, make you feel like shit, and um, uh, pseudoscience or racial scientific racism and all of that type of stuff. Okay, it says, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reaches unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies. Yeah, so the Lord is about to judge this place. Okay, and with that, and Lord willing, this was edifying. Until next time, I say shalom.